Hi everyone, Icon here from Attack Mag. In this video, we're going to look at Recirculate, which is the latest effects plugin released by Newfangled Audio. Newfangled Audio has made waves in recent years with incredibly high quality plugins such as the Synth Generate, as well as mixing and mastering tools like Elevate, Saturate, and Invigorate. There's lots to say about Recirculate, but one word that summarizes its difference to other delays is workflow. Control of your delay times, feedback, and filter is very visual, and there are very practical controls like ducking and transient settings. This, in addition to tons of saturation, modulation, granular, and spatial effects, makes finding a unique character for echoes really easy. Not to mention the long list of really powerful presets. On the Newfangled Audio website, Recirculate is described as the ultimate mix echo and the perfect tool for adding depth and dimension to your mixes. We'll put that statement to the test by using it to craft different sounds while also exploring its many features. Just as a note, we'll be doing lots of subtle effect editing throughout, so we definitely recommend following on headphones or studio monitors. Let's open up the delay and start by taking a look at this main grid here. When you edit something visually in the grid, the related parameters below light up so you can clearly see what you're changing. There are three relevant groups of notes here. The first orange line represents your dry signal. You can click and drag to turn it up or down. The yellow line in the grid represents the first echo, which is one of the most innovative features in this plugin. It gives you the option to separate the timing of the first echo you hear from the rest of the repeat echoes, which is basically the feedback. The first echo slider also determines the general level of the wet signal. The repeat echoes are controlled via this blue line. Dragging up and down affects feedback amount, and dragging left or right determines the timing. Again, as you edit the parameters in the grid, you get a very helpful visual representation of what's going on. By default, we can see timings of 16th notes, 8th notes, quarter notes, and even half notes, but by activating dotted and triplets, we can also see the timings for those notes on the grid. You can also work in milliseconds by toggling the grid setting here. Just to understand this separation between first echo and repeat echoes a little better, let's use Recirculate on some pad chords. We're using the voice-like pad sound in Ableton. We'll drag the first echo to quarter notes. Let's set the repeat echoes to quarter notes as well. This is basically how traditional delays behave. Now let's change the repeat echoes to dotted eighth notes. We'll also add a breakbeat to the background to see how well this rhythm works. Setting the first echo and feedback delay times differently really adds a rhythmic quality. Now would be a good time to mention the behavior settings at the top right. This is where you can switch the delay to ping pong, for example, and when you change the behavior setting, the soundstage effects at the bottom right change as well. For example, in ping pong, you get a ping pan control where you can set the panning order for the ping pong delays. In pitch warp, you get a main modulation control that modulates delay timing to create pitch changes. There's also speed control that goes with this. The granular behavior is another major highlight of Recirculate, but we're going to get into that later with some vocal examples. Let's look at some more of the controls while creating a more intricate delay ambience with a synth lead. We have a riff playing using Ableton's Tunnel Vision Wavetable preset. In solo, it sounds pretty jarring and unusable. Now here it is with the breakdown style section we're working on. Let's start with the default preset. We'll unlink the feedback and chain settings to have individual control over the left and right channels. We'll also reduce the tri-signal so that the delay is more prevalent. For the left channel, let's set the first echo to quarter notes and the repeat notes to eighth notes. For the right channel, we'll change the first echo to dotted eighth notes and the repeat echoes to quarter notes. Let's see how this sounds. If you look at the filter here, there are two bands and we can choose between different types for each of them. We'll go with combo for both, as this style of band does both notches and resonant boosts. We'll cut the lows and highs and boost the cutoff points for some resonant style textures. In the soundstage section, you'll find different effects. The left 4 of these change depending on which behavior mode is selected. The reverb setting is constant and just has an amount and decay control. Let's introduce a bit of spread and chorus. And then a ton of reverb. Especially with the reverb, you can hear just how important the filter is for preventing harshness. We're big fans of the decision to just keep it visual and not show exactly what frequencies are being affected. It's much more intuitive to just use your ears. Now let's jump to the dynamics. Transient is an incredible control that allows you to reduce transients or sustain. The length parameter allows you to set the length of what should be considered a transient. The lowest setting, 5 milliseconds, should be enough. We'll increase this parameter to reduce sustain. Turning the dynamics on and off, you can hear just how much cleaner reducing the sustain makes the delay. We can also add some compression to the whole delay signal. Ducking is a great tool to have the wet signal get lower in volume while the dry signal is playing. For now, we'll just increase it slightly, but we'll take a more detailed look at it later on. The one thing our sound is now missing is some saturation and analog texture, and that's where this section comes in. The character section houses 6 types of saturation and 4 different noise types to choose from. Let's experiment with a couple of them. They all sound great, but let's use the default hot and grit styles and see what we can do. Now let's move on to some vocals and more specifically the granular behavior mode of Recirculate. Here's a vocal loop with no delay.
I got though, give me respect, baby, what is next? Tell me what is next, I got BVS.
We'll also play it with the beat from the first example.
Baby, what is next? Rolling on me, feel it the text. Tell me what is next, baby, what is next?
Let's try to create a granular synthesis style ambience now. We'll set the first echo to quarter notes and the rest of the echoes to dotted eighth notes. We'll also lower the dry signal a bit so that it's less prevalent.
I got, give me respect, baby, what is next? Tell me what is next, I got BVS.
Now we'll change the delay behavior to granular. The key settings for this mode are the spray and size parameters. Size determines the length of the grains taken from the input signal, and spray increases the effect of jumbling these grains. With a larger size, the grains are full words being sung, but with a smaller size, you start to get shorter sounds and more interesting textures.
I got, give me respect, baby, what is next? Tell me what is next, I got BVS, baby, what is next? Rolling on me, feel it the text. Tell me what is next, baby, what is next?
Let's demonstrate by reducing the dry signal to 0.
Baby, what is next?
We can also introduce some reverb, of course. To smoothen the effect, we can also reduce the transients or reduce sustain using the transient control. This all sounds great, but what if everything starts to get too crowded and muddy in the mix? This is where the handy ducking parameter comes in. By increasing the ducking amount, you can lower the wet signal while the dry signal is playing. This means the delays will come in to fill in the space between words.
Tell me what is next. I got BVS. Baby, what is next? Rolling on me, really protects. Tell me what is next. Baby, what is next? I got though, give me respect. Baby, what is next? Tell me what is next. I got BVS. Baby, what is next? Rolling on me, really protects. Tell me what is next. Baby, what is next?
Stepping away from vocals, one more thing the rhythmic qualities of Recirculate can help with is percussion. The separation of the first echo from the rest of the feedback can be great for injecting a bit of syncopation. For example, we have this percussion sample simply hitting on the first downbeat. We can use the frenetic rhythm preset and mess around with the filter, chorus, and transient parameters to change the character. We can also tweak the volume of the first echo and initial dry hit, or change the behavior to boom. Just to highlight the presets again, there are close to 200 to choose from, so let's jump through a couple of them. The library button here reveals a window where you can search based on tags and custom banks. We'll test some with this Ableton Lush Roads preset, for example. Just for fun, let's also look at some of the other color scheme options for Recirculate. These can be changed in the settings. Recirculate is currently available for an introductory price of $49 US. From the 29th of February onward, the price will be $99. You can also get 40% off it if you own another Newfangled Audio plugin. We've dropped a link in the description to the Newfangled Audio webpage where you can also download a free 30-day demo. Just for some final thoughts, it is true that there are endless delay plugins on the market, but we are fairly certain that Newfangled Audio have created an extremely intuitive and powerful new tool. In terms of ease of workflow, visual feedback, rhythmic innovation, and quality effects, there's truly something new here, and we eagerly await to see what comes next from Dan Gillespie & Co. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed the video, be sure to hit the like and subscribe button below for more content from Attack Magazine. See you next time.